Alright, hi everyone. Thank you so much for waiting for my next video. I've gotten a lot of comments in the chat and I'm actually going to present this topic in response to something that a lot of people have been asking for. But I actually got a new job this summer, so I'm moving to first grade and that's taken up some of my time just getting ready for that new grade level and the interview process and all the fun things that go with that. So this lesson, I think, will answer a lot of the questions that I've seen pop up a lot lately, and that's a sample virtual lesson. So like I've said before, I have Blackboard Collaborate that I get to use, and it's actually a web conference tool, and I can load PowerPoints in that. So I know that if you have to use Zoom, for example, you might have to share your screen or share your browser and in order to share a PowerPoint. But that's the way that I like to get started the most is I plan a PowerPoint on my computer. I upload it into Collaborate. If you don't have that, then you could just share it on Zoom so that your students can see the lesson. So some of you may or may not have the capabilities that I share. I'm going to share what I'm able to do, and then you guys can kind of tweak that and make it work with your own software's capabilities. So this is a letter of the day, the letter A, something I've done in kindergarten. My students get phonics curriculum, they get phonics lessons they do at home. I teach guided reading groups where we cover other things. And then this is more of a fun class that I invite my students to each day's letter of the day, letter A. So, nope, this is not the only way I teach it. This is not the only letter I introduce. I don't only introduce one letter a day, but this is just a small little part of the day, a small part of our program. So especially this is great for my sweet and low kiddos that might need some additional help. Then we go slowly, go through one letter at a time and learn some other concepts of print with it. So the way that works is I make this optional for my entire class. Then if I see I have some sweet and low friends that need some extra practice, it's required for them. So my student schedules look different depending on each student, which I'm not at a fully virtual school, so I need to adjust to past tense there. So we get started, we say our collaborate pledge. It's kind of like our behavior pledge. Um, you know, if when I was hybrid, it was the same at school and at home. This is actually an older iteration of it, but just a great way to remind them what I expect them to do when we're in class together, such as press mute unless it's your turn to talk, because if not, that falls under prevent the teacher from teaching or other students from learning. Ready to learn and do your personal best. It means that you have headphones, your microphone's working, you show up in appropriate attire if your webcam's on, that kind of thing. So we introduce that just like you would in a face-to-face classroom, how you introduce those rules and you talk about those expectations and you remind them daily. This is it. Same thing. It's just virtual. So I remind them, follow directions and all of those things that I expect a student to do to be a good student and to be participating in class. And then I introduce my standard. This is so much better for me than face to face, because when I'm face to face, like I introduce what we're going to do in the morning and introduce those standards, but sometimes I forget to come back to it for the lesson. But it's right here, so makes me make sure that I say it. So we're learning their letters and their sounds, so I can learn to read. Because our big class goal, something I do in my class, is we say this every day: we are preparing to go to first grade. That's your job in kindergarten. That's a big deal. All my kiddos know. So then I might have a video. I like HaveFunTeaching.com. They have fun ABC videos. Starfall.com has great ABC videos. So I'll share that link in the chat box, or I can share it on the computer to make sure they're all watching it. But now they know what we're doing. They get a song to kind of captivate their attention. And this is my Orton Gillingham card. So then we talk about the letter A, we talk about point to the capital A, point to the lowercase a. I have them skywrite the letter A, just 2 fingers. Show me on the webcam, or if I can't see them on the webcams, I just say, if I can't see you, do it for your mom, your dad, your cat, your goldfish, whoever's in the room with you at home. Show them the letter A. Okay, so we do the letter capital A 3 times, lowercase a 3 times. Then we talk about apple. And then one thing that I'll do too, if it's a small group, I'll say apple. And then I ask every single student to say this because this does two things. This gives every student a turn, and they get to be heard on the microphone, and this makes sure that the students hear it multiple times. So what I'll do is I'll go down the list. First student, Emmett, your turn. Now I'll do this slower at the beginning of the year, but after about 5 seconds, if Emmett hasn't answered me, I'll say, okay, bud, we'll come back to you. Let me know in the chat box when you're ready. He's not typing to me in the chat box that he's ready, but mom or dad will, or aunt, uncle, whoever's home with him will let me know. So then I go to the next friend, because as much as you want to every student to participate, the biggest piece for virtual lessons is pacing and keeping that lesson going so you have some momentum, because you don't want to lose 10 kiddos for the sake of one in this setting, because you can't control what that one kiddo is doing at home. So maybe they'll have to watch the recording later. Maybe that's an email or a call to mom and dad, find out what's going on. But you don't know if he's off to the bathroom. You don't know. I mean, you just don't know like you do face to face to even correct that behavior. So then I'll go, okay, Declan, your turn. Apple. Move down the list. My kiddos know you're on to press mute until it's their turn, and then they unmute. I have the feature to mute them on my end if they're not doing that, or if a lot of kids are talking, I might just mute everyone and say, oh yeah, again, go ahead and press talk for me, Declan, it was your turn. So that's something that I do have to teach my kiddos. But usually by the end of the year, actually, I mean, a month or two in, they really do get this, and they don't talk unless it's their turn. So then after we've done that, my kiddos can write on the board. I don't know if Zoom has that capability, but we trace capital A. We talk about, oh no, don't go from top or, bottom to top, go top to bottom. And this is something that I really reiterate because I think that some parents don't know, like when you're writing as an adult, you don't slow down and think about how you've been taught to write. So I make sure I remind them top to bottom, then across. Talk about the shape of that. Okay, which A is this, capital or lowercase a? Let them answer on their microphone. Then I let them trace it on the board. Now, this might be the case if your kids can't write on the board. This might be where you have them have a dry erase marker and then show you. Or scrap paper, they write on the paper, give them 30 seconds, set a timer, and then have everybody show you on the webcam. Whatever works for you to make sure that they're engaged. Okay, now we're going to trace both. And then I want you guys to circle or point to capital A or lowercase a. Now, you're not going to know which one they're necessarily pointing to at home if you can't see them or they can't write on the board. So then as a teacher, you can remind them, oh, this one's lowercase a, it's shorter, and then that way, you can correct them, but it gives them something to do so they're not just sitting there staring at the computer. And a lot of parents will I've had parents tell their students that I can see them through their webcam. So even if you don't have Zoom or something like that, just let them know, like, I could see that you're participating, and just anything to keep them actively engaged. Give them as many turns, as many at-bats as they can to do your activity. So this is just a worksheet that I got, probably it looks like it's from education.com, I'm not sure. So just like you buy stuff on Teachers Pay Teachers, or you can get worksheets off websites, you can grab those, put those in your lessons. This usually has like their reference down at the bottom. I think I just made this too big. So you're using it to teach your kiddos. Pop that up on the page. All right, friends, and take turns. Emmett, what's this word? Ant, okay. What's this word? Acorn. Oh, that's long A. Airplane. Kind of don't hear the A in that word. Bossy art. I mean, just like you would in class, like take turns, have them talk about the words that start with A. Maybe circle the ones that you hear at the beginning. These are all really poor examples of the letter A, but teachable moment or do better picking, you get the idea at least. All right, this is the word ant. When we write ant, we get A-N-T. You can either have them write it on their dry erase board, write it on the board if they can, skywrite it, write it on scrap paper, watch you write it. So many different ways you can do this activity. Here's another one, and this is education.com, just another chance to color it, trace it, skywrite it, write it on their dry erase boards and show you. I mean, all right, and then circle the capital A, circle the lowercase a. My directions here don't make sense, but that's okay because, and then go on a letter hunt. Let's find the letter A in these words. You know, you can call on your high flyers to sound out the words. You can tell them the word, circle it, finger stretch it, at, bats. Where do you hear it at? In the middle. I mean, teach them to finger stretch and show you with their fingers. That's a great thing to do if you've got webcam capability. Tap it, at. You know, the different ways you do that. They can do that on the webcam too. Get up, moving around. We hear at in the middle, which is perfect because A is here. You can even send home if you want to manipulatives or have them show up with pennies. Get 3 pennies, at, bat, you know. All that stuff that you do, you might not have as much control over seeing them do it, but you can see if they're working and they're engaged. Sometimes I like to even put circles on the screen that I can move for those to kind of model it. Okay, this is the word snail. This is a long A. We probably not talked about vowel teams at the beginning, but they can at least circle the letter A. Cupcake, ooh, that's a longer word. We've really got to hunt for it there. And you can have them point to it and tell the adult that's with them to check it. Okay, point to the letter A on your screen. So then they all point to the letter A. All right, give me a thumbs up if you circled this one. Thumbs down if you need to try again. All right, find the letter A really quickly. So, I mean, that just depends on what your capability is with your programs. Again, with ant, cat, that's a great one. You can finger stretch together just depending on what you're working on. And then tell me a word that starts with A. And then I'll just go down the list again. Call on Emmett. If Emmett's ready, he'll tell me, okay, turn your microphone off so our next friend can read. Call on Declan. Let him go. Go down the list. Or tell your adult. See, I say parents a lot. Last year, almost my students almost all exclusively worked with their parents. I know that's not a term you can always use, so that's, I mean, you've got to know your class. Tell your aunt or uncle, tell the adult that's with you a word that starts with A and have them type it in the chat box for you. And then they can tell them and they can type it in, or then the adult knows, like, okay, help them through it. If they say bat, let's get them in the right direction. So here are some other activities. Skywrite, I talked about that. I might send them to Starfall to practice on their own. Write the letter A and show it on camera. One thing that I do, and I got a lot of questions about this when I say I have my kids type. My kindergartners, I just have them type that one letter that we're practicing because there's 2 things. I teach them no matter what keyboard you have, the letter A is always going to be in the same place. So you're kind of introducing them to a keyboard. And it's just like an old-fashioned letter search. They're looking for that letter, they type it, their adult might help them enter it in, and that's okay. I always tell my parents at the beginning, you're going to have to help. I was like, but if you pay attention, I'll trigger to you when you should start weaning off of that. So at the beginning of the year, I might say, have your adult help you. In the middle of the year, I'm like, I want you to do this all by yourself, and your adult's only going to hit enter. And at the end of the year, I might tell them, I'm going to set a timer for 1 minute, because I know it's going to take you a while to find that letter, but I'm going to give you 1 minute to type it in, and let's see if everybody can do it. I was able to show timers on the screen. You might be able to pull one up on your phone. Just tell them you have a timer going and give them reminders. And then another thing I do is I'll share stories. We had an account through Reading A to Z. Now you can get leveled readers on other sources too. And I could just pop up Reading A to Z's project on their website and share it, and then my students would take turns reading a page. So page 1, I'd say, okay, Emmett, it's your turn. Everybody else on mute. Emmett would talk. He would read the page. I would help him just like we were face to face. It does take some reminding from adults, like, hey, let him try to do it by himself, and I'll prompt him just so I can make some notes of things that, like, spelling patterns that he doesn't know. So that was the hardest part, was just helping parents to know how much to help, because, there's that mindset of you want to look good for the teacher, and I tried to break that as, no, I just want to know what your kid knows so I can help her get through it. So I would share those web pages, then we'd thank that kid for reading, move to the next page. All right, Declan, it's your turn to read page 2 to us. Okay, Emmett, press mute because it's Declan's turn, and I'd go down the list for my students. So that's how we would do reading. They didn't have anything in paper in front of them. I just shared it on the computer screen and asked them to read. And then I'd end the lesson with an exit ticket. Since my kids could write on the board, I would have them write on a page or a worksheet and practice that. So you'll notice this is not a whole lot. And I would tell parents, I'm going to give the kids 6 minutes to do as much as they can. If they don't get finished, that's okay. I know that using your mouse tool or the keyboard or whatever, I know that's really challenging for kindergartners. So I just want the students to do as much as they can in the time they have, and I can adjust as needed. At the beginning of the year, it might just be 1A, capital and lowercase, that I have them practice tracing. And, you know, just like in face-to-face, some kids would get all of this done. Some kids would just get one done, and that's okay because it gives you a real idea where your students are. And then also you can do exit tickets where you send them out to a Google form or a quiz on another website or a Seesaw activity. I haven't done Seesaw. I'm totally making that up. I have no idea what that looks like. But if you have programming that they're supposed to use, our students have, I mean, goodness, we've had Raz Kids, Mind Play, all those like programs that they can spend like 30 minutes on a day. So then I might just say, okay, this is the end of our live lesson. Go to this website and make sure you spend 30 minutes on Mind Play today. Share class announcements, and then I teach them to say goodbye to their friends. I let them know that they can hop on the microphone, say goodbye to everybody, and then they need to press mute and give somebody else a turn. So that is just a gist of what my virtual lessons look like, and then you just plug in the topic that you're doing. But there really are all kinds of ways that they can participate. It's just not going to look the same as what it would face to face. But one thing that I've done that's really helped me transform my lessons is, you guys as adults, you've had a lot of meetings in Zoom or whatever platform you're using, and I make a mental note of things that I like and things that bore me to death. And I try to use that to guide how I teach. So I like when I have to participate in authentic ways often. So that's what I try to do for my students. I like when they move not too quickly. I mean, don't leave your students behind or move on from something that they don't have yet. But I do like when it's paced a little bit faster, because then there's incentive for them to keep up and enter and not go wander off. Now, my lessons at the beginning of the year for when I taught kindergarten were about 15 minutes. And then we would build up stamina and as the year went on. And that was even 15 minutes including a 3 or 4 minute song and a warm up and an activity where they got to draw or write or do something, you know, more engaging at the end too. So do keep that in mind, that add a lot of brain breaks and things you can do to make that developmentally appropriate. So the longest that my lessons ever get is at the end of the year. I might have some lessons that were like 30 minutes to 45 minutes max, but 45 was really rare, and I would have a break in the middle with like a song or a dance or something, and kind of change topics just so they felt like, I mean, the classroom equivalent of getting up and moving to the rug when you're going to be doing the same thing, but you're just relocating. So hope this helps, and I appreciate your patience. And as always, you can let me know some questions you have. I'll do the best I can to answer those, but I am starting a new grade, so I've got a lot to do this summer. Good luck, friends. You've got this.